Hello, welcome, Camille. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you today?
Good, good, good. Thank you for joining on this first episode Between Two Bosses. It's a fun take, two ferns. I'm excited to have you here. Your host here, and I am the CEO Automation Officer. I like Automation Officer title because and we are AI and automation company based in Florida. I am here in New Jersey. Camille, would you introduce yourself as well for our audience?
Yes. So, hi, Ready. I am Senior Director of Intelligence at Cox. So, I am based at our headquarters in Atlanta. Beautiful sunny day, and we scope that goes across all of our divisions. So, not just enterprises, so Cox Automotive and Cox. So, we have different businesses, a lot of different options where we can apply in AI.
And for those who don't know Camille, I know for quite a while now. She has run a very large automation. She's been in the industry for quite a while. Camille, you want to give a little background on where you started automation and how you are now?
Sure. So also went to Georgia Tech and really built my career on a lot of process improvement at work, consulting, technology, and then in my roles at Coca-Cola, we did more automation and web apps and things of nature, and that really got me excited. And that was for kind of enterprise adoption of RPA, so that got me excited about the next step. And I joined Georgia Pacific, which is also another large Atlanta-based company, and really had to start and create scale on their automation programs. So I've seen a lot in the time I've enjoyed the journey, and I think that it just continues to be exciting as the technology evolves so quickly, and what we're able to do to make work more efficient and processes more efficient just continues to increase.
Perfect. I've been in technology for quite a while. I haven't seen technology move this fast
No.
as fast as it has in the past few years in a very, very long time. So today we're here talking about agentic automation. I think everybody wants to talk about agentic automation. I don't know how many people do it, but my first one on a lighter note is, when are we going to see an AI note-taking agent that says in the summary, then John asked a really stupid question. Well, it's that's one of my favorites. One I would really pay for is an agent that can negotiate meeting times when there are four people on a meeting invite.
That would be fantastic.
Would it be? It's like, oh, this time doesn't work, that time doesn't work. There's so many factors there, right? Like, I can move this one, I can't move that one. Oh, that one's just with Harsh, just move that over. It's way too many factors there. But look, I think it's very interesting. Like, thinking about note-taking agents, I always find that intelligence has gotten to the point where, if you notice, all summary agents, meeting note-taking agents, really ignore all the banter that happens at the beginning of the meeting, right? This is not relevant. It knows it's not relevant to the meeting. We're talking about the weather. We're talking about kids, baseball. It's really interesting. These things are getting intelligent. So I'm very excited about it. But I usually start with your sort of. I'm gonna define how we think of agents, and then over to you to see how you and the enterprise sort of sees. The context is enterprise. You're in a large enterprise. It's not just easy to introduce new technologies to the enterprise. We look at agentic automation as agents that are not just chatbots. We all know ChatGPT and Perplexity and all of these other tools, but agents that have tools and have some instructions and can execute those instructions using those tools, along with memory and understanding of context data that is given to them, as opposed to just one of those chatbots. That's how we look at it. And the patterns that we see are back-end agents that are sort of working in the background. You give them something, the instructions and the tools and the context and all of that, and they do their thing. Or chat agents. These agents could have a chat interface, so somebody can talk to them and say, hey, go and change the status of this case and this system to that, or look up an invoice to see what the amount is, look up a customer to see what their order was. Are you seeing the confusion there? Because everybody thinks of an agent like a ChatGPT, but it's a little bit more than that. Are you seeing the same confusion sort of in the enterprise when you talk to folks?
Definitely. So everything is an agent now. I think there's all of the LLMs are agents, all of the chats are agents, everything's a co-pilot. And sometimes when we're talking about solutions within, talking about business cases, talking about problem statements, I really try to get away from what we're calling it and just go back to what is the problem we're trying to solve, and then we can figure out what technology is used to solve that. We've had people come ask for, I really need an agentic automation for this. And I'm like, do you? I hear the use case and I'm like, no, we can do that. It's pretty rules based. That's pretty simple. Probably not going to have to go that far. So it's definitely been interesting as the hype cycle has just gone out of control with agentic, and everybody is just having trouble kind of defining what that agent is.
No,
but I agree with you. Like
absolutely.
The agentic piece of it, like when you start to combine the LLM or LRM based agents that can do the reasoning or the more complex analysis of unstructured data with even more like intelligent automation, RPA type bots that can actually do the execution, that's where you start to really unlock a lot of magic.
Perfect. Look, I think it does remind me of back in the day. I think you must remember from your consulting days as well. 10, 15 years ago, AI and machine learning was a big thing, right? So, so people would come up and say, "Hey, I would like you to do something for me with machine learning." It's like, well, what exactly do you want me to do? It's like, this is the problem, but I really want to use machine learning. And you're like, no, this is, we could do this regular rules-based stuff, doesn't need machine learning. He's like, but I need to show that I'm using machine learning somewhere. so that's really interesting.
It's the same pattern.
Absolutely, and that's a good segue. Look, I think you've been doing RPA for a while. Rules-based, sort of. Now I can call them that, right? And even before, it's actually I'll get to an interesting story that used to happen all the time. Kind of dumb bots, right? They're rules based. You just tell them what to do. Back in the day when RPA was first starting, we would go into a lot of CISO and the IT office and say, hey, by the way, we'd like to install a bot on a machine, and they would just get an aneurysm right there. Like, oh my God, what are you trying to do? I've spent my career trying to keep bots outside my environment, and you want to put a bot in there. And I used to say, you're thinking Optimus Prime. I'm thinking that thing that you buy at Target, you press a button, goes beep beep boop boop. That's it, right? that's what I'm doing. It's interesting that that we now have this intelligent capability that I still go back to, I think it was 4 years ago when Daniel was at a smaller conference and was talking. Actually, it was at Forward, Daniel Dines, the CEO of UiPath, and was talking about semantic automation, right? Semantic execution, just kind of going away from just rules-based to actually understanding the context and being able to make sort of inferences from the data that you have and the documents that you have, so on and so forth. So this is a new capability. And then you have these rules-based things that need to happen consistently with rules. How do you see these agent-based automations complementing or replacing the RPA and workflow tools that you have right now in your enterprise?
So I'm still at the point where I think it's complementary. So I think that we will be adding new tools into the toolkit, but having these different platforms being able to work together and having a really strong orchestration engine will be very important. I think that you're going to want to create more simple agents, so like more of an agent can do one thing and it specializes in one thing versus trying to get overly complex and having one do everything you need it to do. So the orchestration there is going to be key in being able to tie all of those together. Perfect. But we're still using all of the capabilities of UiPath, and then starting to combine those with different tools in the Microsoft Azure ecosystem. I think that's a really good pairing, and I feel pretty confident that we can, tie things together within those two. And Microsoft keeps advancing, all of their, everything in build. Last week was impressive. They keep advancing what they're doing on the AI side, and so I'm just trying to keep up with some of it, honestly.
Absolutely, trying to keep up with it is half the battle these days, and it's really interesting. I think there's a realization with all these vendors. They realize they're not going to be the only ones doing this, right?
Yeah.
So you can see UiPath has sort of positioned itself as a multi-agent orchestration, execution, workflow sort of platform, with partnerships with both Microsoft as well as LangChain. Then Google came out with A2A, which is sort of agent to agent. They realize they're not going to be the only agents out there.
Yep.
MCP is going to start making it its way into sort of general adoption across the board. So there's this interesting sort of realization in the market that agents are going to have to work with each other, which is good and bad, because that introduces complexity, but then also you have to figure out which one are you going to use, which ones are going to be the approved one. So you mentioned a few different areas, technologies, platforms. Sort of, what are the challenges you're seeing in adopting or standardizing on these things, or how are you working through? I have so many of these options. What do I use? And then there are other things that you need to worry about. What are the challenges that you're thinking, and how are you introducing these technologies?
So we're following a kind of a 3-tiered framework when we're talking about more AI solutions that is similar to, I think it's Gartner and some of the other analyst firms out there. So really looking at certain tools are for personal productivity. So things in, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Copilot Web, things like that, where you can point users to things and help. And we'll talk about upskilling people as well, I think, but you can point them to that and they can use it without needing a lot of development work or anything like that. And then we've kind of got a middle section where it's a little bit more complex, but doesn't need like a full custom AI solution built. So you've got some tools in that space, low code, no code type tools, where you can bring together Copilot Studio from Microsoft and UiPath to develop, medium complexity type solutions. And then we're looking at, really using probably more of the Azure Foundry kind of functionality and features for those custom AI solutions. So those are things where we just can't quite handle them with the kind of the mid-tier of that stack. But what we're finding right now is that most of our use cases are falling into either the personal productivity or can be handled with Copilot Studio and UiPath. We have only really kind of gone into that custom AI solution space for 1 or 2 use cases that were more complex and had large amounts of data to analyze. And so we're trying to keep the ROI in mind as well when we create something, as well as starting small and then building on the complexity. So what's the easiest thing that could solve the problem? And then, okay, well, now we've tackled an MVP level, like we've tackled a little bit of the issue. What do we need to do to kind of step that up and tackle more of the complexity? So kind of that I can't say that. An agile iterative approach, crawl, walk, run. But that's proving pretty successful for us so far.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting, and good segue into what I was going to ask next. A big part of running an automation program is making sure that you can prioritize the incoming requests one for people who are eager for it. For people who are not so eager for it, go and educate, and then find the opportunities in those business units that may or may not have automation sort of in there already. They might not know what can be done with the, everybody loves talking about the art of the possible, but what the capabilities of your toolkit are. How are you updating your discovery, intake, prioritization, value realization sort of framework to say, hey, this is how we're going to use these new technologies? Or are you making any changes? Every established program has a way to intake all these things, but how are you updating that?
Yeah, I think it does change as the technology evolves. So we're using kind of a roadshow approach. So we've been working closely with our enterprise architecture team. They kind of were helping us figure out, going back to the architecture of it, helping us make all of those decisions, what fits within our existing technology landscape and those strategies. So we've worked closely with them, especially on some of the art of the possible type conversations. And then we're also developing a enterprise training approach. So we're looking to combine that art of the possible with kind of AI literacy training and start to roll that out, which would also get people thinking about what's possible.
Okay.
And then providing our intake is still a lot of relationship-based emails. It usually takes a conversation, so we have a little bit more of a white glove approach there versus a form approach right now.
Makes sense. You alluded to a little bit of this. This is really interesting. So you talked about how you have you're implementing a intake process. On the receiving end of the automations, the business operation teams, whoever is going to be getting the automation, there's some change management and expectation management, and sort of we saw this early on in the RPA world, and some was warranted, some wasn't. There were folks who were just literally doing data entry, and when we went out with them and showed them what this could be done, they were rightfully so a little frazzled by the fact that, oh my God, the thing that I do, this thing can do, right?
Yeah.
So without proper sort of expectation setting of, hey, listen, you have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I don't pay you to enter data in. I would like you to analyze some reports. That's where we want to take you. Without that, it's very difficult. And we actually saw this internally within our own organization. We were trying to do we thought it'd be a great idea. We get hundreds of resumes for a single position. We thought it'd be a great idea to summarize those things, match them up against results, and give them to the recruiter. And our recruiter got spooked. She said, hey, listen, is this thing going to replace me? This is exactly what I do. It's like, no, that's not why I have you there. I have you there so that once you have found the gem, I really need you to talk to them and actually tell them why. So I'd rather you be doing that empathetic work rather than just collation work. So that's one sort of change management. And on the flip side, on your own team, the skills required to deliver this, I am seeing, yes, you still need that coding, Python, whatever knowledge that you need, UiPath, coding knowledge just to be able to stitch things together, write RPA bots if you need to, so on and so forth. But then there are these new skills of being able to craft a prompt properly, being able to understand sort of, even on the analysis side, understand what's possible, what's not possible, what is an LLM capable of doing, how will it do it sort of more consistently. How are you looking at both of those, starting with how are you communicating, how's the enterprise communicating to the business units on what this will do and how their workforce might change, and then later on your team side?
So I think that it's very similar to, it's still kind of the same story as with automation, right? Yep. When you're talking to people, they're nervous that something's going to replace them. I don't think we're there yet with AI agents. I think that it's really much more of of an assistant to you. So it's an assistant to help you do your job. I have not run across many people here or in my past companies that had enough time in their day to do all of the work that needed to be done. And so it's more of a, how do you take those things, the summarization, I mean, contract summarization is one. So you've got legal teams, sourcing and procurement teams, reading through massive amounts of contracts. And that is something that can easily be done with AI agents, agentic agents even. And that is, but you still need the people to make the decisions and understand what those summaries say, and what is the next step. So it's really trying to make sure that people understand that it's, I mean, I hate to say this because it's been said so many times, but like freeing people up to do the higher value work, to do the things that take the human's touch, just like you said with the recruiter. Like those are conversations and connections with people that need to happen. And then talking about upskilling internal teams. So my automation team, we have a product side of our team, an engineering side of the team, and they're all really excited to learn the new tech. The engineers, and I think that it's just a matter of helping to both provide the training and then the actual work. So I think you learn best when you have training and then something to apply that training to, so you don't forget everything you just learned. So that's our approach, is trying to make sure that we train people in a way that they can use what they've learned very quickly on an actual business use case.
Perfect. So one last thing, and we all look. I think I was a test engineer for a very long time, and the thing that I most worried about was the audit compliance guys. Right? They would come up, and I used to have like. I was telling somebody this story. Somebody gave me bad advice once. They said, "Auditor's coming. No worries. Why don't you just print out all your test cases and do the thud factor and just go drop them on their desk?" The auditor was smarter than me, and he just flipped the thing and pulled out a page and said, "How about test case number 355? Can you walk me through from requirements all the way to execution results on this test case?" And he got me there. So I always look. They have a very difficult job. You might have regulators asking for stuff, then you have worries about reputational risk, you have worries about PII, you have worries about just general sort of bad actors, inadvertent issues of data leakage and things like that. So add to that the inherent sort of non-deterministic outcomes of LLMs, hallucinations, and how do you it's difficult. You can ask the same question 4 times, it might give you 4 different answers. Adding all of that adds a lot of complexity to it. What are sort of the asks from the enterprise audit, compliance, governance sort of regimes that you might be talking to and saying, "Hey, I want to do this"? What are you seeing there?
So I think the one that's come up most frequently for us is the data privacy aspect. So ensuring that whatever we're building has the privacy guardrails built in, and is not going to misuse any of that kind of data that it has access to. So I think that tools that are, provide the level of governance you need within the tool in order to do that are really important. That is, those are the ones that our InfoSec and privacy teams prefer us to bring in. And then also just making sure that there are controls within the platform that you're using, whether it's UiPath or Microsoft. They both have, enterprise grade ability to handle both security and privacy. We are not in at least the parts of the business that I work with most frequently are not highly regulated areas. So we don't have quite the same pressures as like a, insurance company, pharmaceutical company like that would have from a regulations point of view. But we are very focused on info security and privacy.
That's great. I always tell people, we had enough trouble just guarding data through role-based access and this and that. You can look at this account and not that account. You could look at this book and not that book. You can look at this region and not that region. Now you're actually trying to take all that data out of the systems and then trying to feed it into this LLM that may or may not. You have to implement all that role-based access to that data as well in real time as things are happening. It's a challenge indeed. So it's absolutely true. We need to, at the base level, having the I love what UiPath does, the trust layer, that type of stuff, right? Where you have do I have basic governance and control, data loss protection type paradigms in place to say, hey, no PII is going to go out, and no, I can define the parameters of what is allowed and what's not allowed. And then one level down at the process level, do I have data access and governance in place? And you're absolutely right. You need, it's very easy. And this happens all the time. I go, we'll show something agentic to someone and they'll pull up ChatGPT right off the bat and go, look, I could do this and drop a document in there and do something.
No, don't.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna fly. You can't just drop this document in there. You don't know what's happening in the background. Is the model being trained on that stuff and things like that? So it's tricky indeed. In closing, what advice would you have for enterprise leaders who are now looking at including sort of agentic automation into the mix of their regular automation program? How would you advise them, having navigated a lot of this stuff and still navigating it? What would your advice be?
Yeah, I would say that the two are very complementary. I think that they will converge if they haven't already converged, right? Like, it's just automation moving into more intelligence and using AI in ways that it couldn't before. And so the upskilling is really important of the team. I didn't mention with governance that, having an AI council that's cross-functional, that brings in all of the different parties that need to be involved, from legal to privacy to sourcing for the contract aspects of things, like that is very important. We have that type of routine set up as well, so that we can understand what people want to do with AI, what are the different options for it, and then guide whether that's something we build or buy. So structures around governance, a strategic plan around upskilling both the resources that are going to do the builds and your general employee population. So to your point about, I'll just drop this document in ChatGPT, that's not protected unless you have, an enterprise, protected environment of that. So just helping people understand the do's and don'ts around AI is also very important. And then really using kind of the same value metrics that we've used with automation programs. So it's not just time savings. It's are you increasing employee satisfaction? Are you increasing customer satisfaction? Are you working in places where you have the potential to increase revenue or decrease risk? So applying all of that kind of same logic that we've used to vet use cases for automation into agentic. It's more of an evolution than it's an evolution that moves very fast, but it's more of an evolution than a net new space to play in.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Camille. I really appreciate you being on with us today. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun talking to you about this stuff. And and now just go ahead and deploy that compliant, data secure, consistent agent tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, and the meeting invite one too. Like, let's get that started.
And let's get that working as well.
So thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Same here.
Thanks.
All right, now we can exit. Thank you so much, Camille. I really